At the mouth of the Chesapeake Bay, where the waters of Hampton Roads meet the Atlantic, sits one of the most unusual military installations in American history, a place that was never conquered, never abandoned, and quietly helped end slavery in the United States. This is Fort Monroe in Virginia, sometimes called Freedom's Fortress. From the air, Fort Monroe looks almost unreal. A massive six-sided stone fortress surrounded by a wide moat, sitting on a narrow peninsula at Old Point Comfort. It's the largest stone fort ever built in the United States, and for nearly 2 centuries it guarded one of the most strategic harbors on the East Coast. But Fort Monroe is more than a fortress. It's a place where some of the most pivotal and most ironic moments in American history quietly unfolded. The story of this location begins long before the stone walls existed. In late August 1619, 2 English privateer ships, the White Lion and the Treasurer, appeared off this same peninsula. Their cargo had been seized from a Portuguese slave ship called the São João Bautista, which had been carrying more than 350 Africans kidnapped from the Kingdom of Ndongo in what is now Angola. Between 20 and 30 of those Africans were brought ashore here at Old Point Comfort and traded to Virginia colonists for food and supplies. Their arrival marks the beginning of forced African labor in English North America. 2 of them, a man and a woman, known to history as Antony and Isabella, would later have a son named William. He is recorded as the first child of African descent born in the English colonies. They settled here, at this exact place, where the fort now stands. Construction of the massive stone fort began in 1819. The War of 1812 had exposed just how vulnerable the American coastline was. British forces had sailed freely into the Chesapeake Bay, burned Washington, and threatened the entire eastern seaboard. The response was an ambitious coastal defense program known as the Third System of Fortifications. Fort Monroe was its crown jewel. Built of massive granite and brick, it was designed to control the entrance to the Chesapeake. Its partner fortification across the channel, Fort Wool, created a combined field of fire that could stop almost any ship attempting to pass. For decades, it worked. One of the young engineers who helped shape those defenses and finish the moat in the 1830s was a lieutenant named Robert E. Lee. He would later command the very army trying to take it. When Virginia seceded in April 1861, most federal installations across the South fell to Confederate forces. Fort Monroe did not. Union troops held it from the first day of the war to the last. Just weeks into the conflict, 3 enslaved men made a desperate crossing. Their names were Frank Baker, Shepard Mallory, and James Townsend. They had been forced by the Confederate Army to build artillery batteries aimed directly at Fort Monroe. On the night of May 23, 1861, the 3 men slipped away, found a skiff, and rowed across the harbor in the dark. They presented themselves at the gates of Fort Monroe and asked for protection. The next morning, a Confederate officer arrived under a flag of truce and demanded the men be returned under the Fugitive Slave Act. The commander of the fort, General Benjamin Butler, was a Massachusetts lawyer before he was a soldier. He saw the situation with a lawyer's clarity. Virginia claimed to be a foreign nation, no longer subject to the laws of the United States. "Fine," Butler replied. "Then the Fugitive Slave Act doesn't apply here either." He then used the Confederacy's own logic against them. If Virginia considered enslaved people to be property, and that property was being used to build weapons of war against the Union, then he would seize them as contraband of war. He would not be returning them. Word spread like wildfire. Within days, more freedom seekers arrived. By the end of the war, over 10,000 people had sought refuge. Among those who came to help was Harriet Tubman, who served at the fort as a nurse and teacher, helping the Contrabands prepare for their new lives. Just a mile away, under the spreading branches of the Emancipation Oak, the community gathered in 1863 to hear the first Southern reading of the Emancipation Proclamation. From the very ground where Antony and Isabella had been traded for food in 1619, the legal path toward freedom had finally begun. Fort Monroe would witness one more extraordinary scene. In May 1865, with the Confederacy defeated, Jefferson Davis, President of the Confederate States, was brought here in chains. He was placed in a damp stone casemate beneath the walls. On his second day, a Union general ordered him shackled in irons. Davis understood the weight of the moment. Shackling was what his government had done to enslaved people for generations. The man who had built a government to preserve slavery was now a prisoner inside freedom's fortress. Davis spent 2 years at Fort Monroe. He was charged with treason, but never tried. Fearing a Virginia jury might rule secession legal, the government released him on bail in 1867. He walked out a free man, but the cause he led was dead. Today, you can walk along the moat and climb the ramparts. You can stand at the water's edge where the White Lion anchored in 1619 and look out where 3 men once rowed toward the light in 1861. Fort Monroe is a strange, layered paradox. It is a fortress built for war that became a gateway to liberty, a place where slavery first took root and where it began to wither. It is a massive stone fort that, through every crisis since 1819, was never taken by an enemy, not once.